Hi, Anna here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the subtle energy of boundaries. So in the words of Cindy Dale, in the world of subtle energy, a parameter, a boundary, is a decision that limits which energies can enter or engage with you while enforcing your overall well-being. So everything is energy. In every interaction in our relationships, there's all these fields of energy, and energy is flowing in different ways and creating different experiences. And we feel that in our physical world, mainly emotionally. Or so when we're trying to create healthy boundaries, we have to look at what has been happening with our energy in a way. If we've got a complete lack of boundaries, we have a tendency to be leaking energy off in all sorts of directions to people, places, times, things, and events. So there's an aspect of needing to heal the wounds of those situations so that we can start looking at how we behaved in those ways and where we showed a lack of boundaries to understand what our boundaries were, because we'll be able to feel it in ourselves, be able to feel that sense of, oh, I really hurt myself in that situation. I betrayed myself, because often lack of boundaries can be a self-betrayal when we weren't able. So we have to forgive ourselves for that, because at the time we probably didn't know any better. We hadn't learned how to have healthy boundaries. So that is part of the healing process, is learning how to have healthy boundaries. But we have to do it with objectivity and forgiveness for the mistakes we've made or where we've not been able to enforce a boundary for ourselves. And being able to speak with vulnerability about what our boundary is. Because you will meet people from time to time that have absolutely no respect for boundaries whatsoever. And to be able to create a healthy boundary with someone that has no respect for boundaries is extremely difficult. So that's where you have to really question whether or not you want to be in relationship, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, a family relationship, a work relationship. So sometimes you're in areas where you can't really completely disconnect from the person. You still have to maintain a level of connection with them. So you have to be really, really firm in your boundaries, not to be taken advantage of by people that don't respect boundaries whatsoever. So you also have to question your own ability to respect boundaries. So you'll notice, and with those people that don't respect boundaries, and they can be very much that vampire archetype. They're like a succubus. They pull that energy out of you, and you can literally feel when your boundaries are being violated, because either you'll begin to feel extremely drained, or you're going to begin to feel angry. And this is like healthy anger, when you're becoming angry because your boundary is being violated. So this doesn't mean that you can then go and behave in very disrespectful and mean ways, but realizing, okay, I'm getting angry and there's a reason I'm getting angry, and I need to stand firm in my ground and on the earth and in my space so that I can maintain my sense of self. And they may have absolutely no respect for that whatsoever, but this is what you need to do for you. Whereas a lot of other people, you express a boundary and they're going to respect it. So being aware as you go through healing yourself in these subtle aspects of boundaries is it can be a little bit of ebb and flow of understanding what your boundaries are. That's the first step, where they've been violated in the past, how to bring your energy back to yourself from those wounds of the past so that you can begin to recognize and rebuild the energy within yourself to create those healthy boundaries for you. And to remember that it's okay if you don't get it right all the time. And it's okay to go, oops, I lost myself a little bit there. And that's a big part of boundaries. It is a little bit of a sense of loss because, yes, keep coming back. The stronger you are in your boundaries in yourself, your sense of self, that will help you maintain healthy boundaries. So on the other side of a lack of boundaries is overly rigid boundaries. That's when you're sticking up walls, and perhaps it's because of a heartbreak and there's a part of you that's just like, I don't ever want to experience that again. So you put up all those walls, create an impenetrable fortress around yourself So this can create isolation and loneliness. So you may have a very strong wall there and this sort of independence, but there is no love flowing to others so easily or back into yourself. So there's an understanding of where a wall and a boundary are different so that you can allow to open the space. Because in that sense, when we've become too rigid, we have to be able to learn to open. Whereas when we've become too flexible, we have to learn how to pull back. So there's a little bit of a subtle difference there with the flows of the energy moving back and forth. So allowing space, if you've become too rigid, to let things back in again, and realizing that you're actually having to allow the space to open your heart, and it is a risk and a vulnerability, but maintaining boundaries can be a very vulnerable place to be in expressing your own needs or bounds, or the ability to be able to say yes when it's right to say yes, and the ability to say no when it's right to say no. So these all come back, and then there is, on the subtle energy side of it, where there is always this flow of energy moving back and forth, and being more and more aware of where you're leaking energy and what sort of situations cause you to leak energy. So you can prepare a little bit as you become more aware of this, of how to protect yourself emotionally and energetically, and keep maintaining that sense of self. So on the energetic side, so a very simple, easy thing to do is tuning into yourself, becoming aware, first of all, just of your physical boundary, the edge of your skin. Can you even feel that? If there's issues around being able to feel that, then there's deeper healing work to do as well. So being able to feel the edges of your body. And then coming down, can I feel my feet on the floor? If you're standing or you're seated, just being able to feel that sense of the ground beneath you, and then being aware that your connection goes deep into the earth and you're always supported by the earth. So this is an aspect just to get into that first state of, okay, where am I? What is my physical boundary? And then as you do this, and then coming into that center space, the center of your heart, and breathing into this, and then connecting into, there is a central channel that runs from above the head all the way down through the center of the body and out down through the center, and it connects into the earth as well. And this is a place where you can call on for inner strength, because if you can feel that flow of energy and begin to move it in your body, sometimes people like to breathe it in through the top of the head, or maybe breathe it in from the earth, or you can breathe it in from the heart space. But being aware of this line of energy moving through the center of your being, it can be like a center holding point. This is like a holding of your own strength. And it can, when you tune into it, it can even allow yourself, you kind of don't want to resist, but just see if you can allow it to sense and feel it'll lift you up and straighten you up, and not into a rigid way, but just into a strong way. I'm firm in my space and I'm firm in my ground. And with this, I also like to work a little bit with either the toroidal field going around me, so that energy is flowing through that central channel and out, and both back ways. It works both energies at the same time. You may choose to tune into whichever flow you particularly like in the moment, or sometimes I work with the energy egg and just being aware, okay. And I like to use the golden energy, and sometimes with tinges of pink or whitey gold or very sparkly, sort of what works for you. Sometimes silvery. It depends on how I'm feeling in the moment, what energy I feel most needed to bring in. And just being aware of this field being a little bit away from you, and just reinforcing energetically that it's there. And then I'm creating a psychic, subtle, energetic boundary around myself. And then the energy, that which is disharmonious or wants to attack me or comes forward, this is coming in, but it can't come right into me. It's being deflected, but it allows love to flow in and flow out. And so this can just be a way. You can just sit with this for a moment, let yourself feel it, sense it, just know it's there. Sometimes it can take a little while to feel and sense these things. So initially it just does have to start with trust or coming back to that central channel. That can often be a little bit more tangible if that's what you need to feel. Otherwise, you can work with feeling or sensing that egg or toroidal field around you and knowing, like, everything is interconnected in this field of energy. So you can choose to create the bounds of your own being. And yeah, just invite you to just play with that for a little while, see what works for you, what feels natural, and also realize, if you do get into anger and rage, like allowing that this energy, things can freely flow through this boundary, that which is right, but that's which is going to attack or drain you or pull from you is deflected unless you're allowing it in, which sometimes we can do if we're still working on establishing our healthy boundaries. All right, thank you for listening.